Hello. Hello. I think we are live. Oh dear. Probably don't have much light right now. Okay. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Pagan Perspective. This is Thursday. I am Megan, aka Severstory, and yeah, we're doing it live because they seem to be popular and I wanted to do one. So, I'm so sorry about the light. I thought the light was coming and going, and well, it's just going to have to be the way it is. I think a cloud went by or something, and if it goes by again, then it'll be better. So welcome. And for those of you who end up viewing this live, please introduce yourself and feel free to ask questions in the chat. If you are viewing this after the fact, hello, welcome, and feel free to leave comments. I usually do come back to the videos. I try to get back to them at least once or twice, maybe a week later or so, sometimes 2 weeks. So I try to, if there is a super pertinent question, I try to answer it. But yeah, so welcome. All right. Today is a day already. How is everybody else? I hope you are well. Today, well, this week, I should say, we are talking about pagan role models. And I kind of put elders into the title because that's also kind of enmeshed in that for me. And it's really interesting, this idea of who do we view as a role model? And it's not just necessarily, an elder, right? It's not necessarily somebody who could even be living, right? Like I think Carr might have mentioned Wonder Woman. So I think that role model has such a interesting and unique umbrella to put all of these things under. So I have some things written down that I wanted to talk about. And remember, if you're watching, go ahead and if you have questions or things like that, go ahead and comment, say hi, let me know where you're from. And so, yes, I don't know, Milton, if I will tremble, but okay, you're here. So I wanted to start out with probably, when I think of pagan role models, probably the person who immediately comes to mind right now. And that is because he recently crossed over. And he was just such an important role model. Mentor, I guess, is another word you could have for him in my life. And I know in so many other people. And I have mentioned it before. Oh, Milton, you've always been told to announce your presence. Oh, well, you did a good job. Pretty good. I like it. Please excuse my voice. I was at Portland Pride this past weekend and at a Renaissance Fair, the Oregon Renaissance Fair. And the amount of cheering I did, my voice has still not recovered. So forgive me if I squeak. So the person that I'm talking about, some of you might have already guessed because I have spoken about him on this channel before, is Raven Grimassi. So, and Stephanie Grimassi, who is still with us as well, another important elder and role model. Raven gave so much and was such an influence in my life that for me, I could never speak about role models without talking about Raven. So that is definitely one of my biggest role models, would be Raven, and his work and his friendship and his laugh and all of it. Just an extraordinary person. So strong and so wise in so many ways. So I'm definitely, he's definitely on the top of my list. So that being said, I thought I would kind of go into a few others. And when I kind of break them down into some categories, I have sort of the science fiction fantasy kind of side, right? There are literature side, right? Who are role models in that way, who in most cases didn't exist. They are a manifestation, right? They are a character created. And definitely for me, w- two of my role models would actually be the aunts from the movie Practical Magic. I know that sounds funny. Uh, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe you're right there with me and you're like, yes, the aunts from Practical Magic. Absolutely. What I loved so much is how they owned who they were and they didn't make any apologies for it. And they just lived the way they wanted to live and they didn't hide anything. And I really, really loved that. And I loved that there was a movie that showed that. That was just so exciting to me. And, there's obviously the fantastical and things like that. Um, it's Hollywood, right? It's Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. So there, of course, was going to be some fantastical, but it definitely was just a very influential movie for me because I loved there were certain parts in it that just made me so excited when Sandra Bullock's character says to the police officer or U.S. Marshal when he's asking about the devil, and she says, "No, there's no devil in the craft." And I loved that. I loved that a Hollywood movie on a big stage was finally, saying there's no devil. And it's because it's so hard when you grow up being told you're a devil worshiper and you don't even know it. So that was very validating to hear that. And so it's very much a role model for me. Um, Eric Cartman from South Park. Oh, okay. Nice. And so I think for me, the other one would have to also be I definitely got a lot of my kind of role modelness when I was really little. This might sound silly again, from Shira. Did anybody who maybe was young in the 80s remember Shira? Shira was sort of the companion or I guess the Xena to Hercules, She-Ra was to He-Man, right? And so She-Ra was really important to me, which was later replaced with Xena, which I'm going to get to. so, but She-Ra was my first foray. She was this strong and powerful woman that I got to see. Oh, yay. Hi, Liana. I'm so glad you're here. So yes, Shira was just this Amazon, this amazing woman, this powerful woman. And if I haven't mentioned, I believe I've mentioned on this channel before. So about my ethnicity, I'm biracial. So yes, I am, European on half of me, but the other is Kanasitake. So that's the Mohawk, Iroquois. We call ourselves the Haudenosaunee, which is the people. So in our tribe, particularly the Mohawks, but all of the Iroquois, so we are matriarchal. And the women are the ones who decide if we go to war. Clans are passed down through the female line. It is only through the female line. The females are the ones to inherit land. Women have final say. Yes, there is a male chief who the women vote in and can decide to remove if he's not doing a good job. And that was primarily so that the women weren't necessarily going off to fight because when you're talking about kind of that hunter-gatherer lifestyle, it was important for the women to be nourishing the children and to be at home because of just the nature of our bodies and things like that. Now, that doesn't mean that women didn't fight. They absolutely did. It's just in general, that's sort of how the structure was set up. So the Council of Women Elders is incredibly powerful, incredibly powerful. So that being said, for me growing up, being on the reservation every summer, things like that, that's the message I was getting, is that women were powerful and amazing. And I wasn't seeing that in TV and in a lot of the books that school had me reading and things like that. And I wasn't getting it in my American world all around me. In fact, growing up in New Hampshire, during the school year, I was getting a lot of patriarchy, and that was really difficult. So when I saw this, yes, it was a cartoon character. It didn't matter. When I saw her up there being powerful, that was fabulous for me. So I really, really loved that. Oh, so Milton is an eighth Maori. And if you can't tell, I live in New Zealand, born and raised South Island. Oh, nope, you took away your comment. So I'm not sure. Maybe it was incorrect. So what was super exciting about Shira was her power, and I felt like it was she held her own right there with He-Man, and I loved that. I loved having a female who was strong in her own right, not because of something a man gave her, and I really loved that. So that led me, as I got a little bit older, to Xena. And if we're continuing my role models, sort of in the sci-fi fantasy or not necessarily real, like their character made up, Xena and Gabrielle would definitely be on that list. Love, love, love them. And also, as a lesbian, love, love, love them. So now we all know that they didn't actually come out on the show and say that they were a couple. However, there are plenty of ways to read between the lines with the two of them. And I guess if there was ever a time to use the word I ship it, this would be it. So, and I think I'm probably not alone in that. So I think that when I think about these role models growing up, I think about, um, I just think that these types of people, right? The characters in our lives, they allow us to think beyond the everyday, think beyond what is just in front of us, right? And they give us a sense of what could be, even if it's not necessarily what is definitely going to be. In the case of like Shira or something like that, it is that case of the imagination, right? That powerfulness. I know with superheroes, that tends to be very common too. And it gives us that idea that we could be more, we could aspire to so much more. And it's a role model. It's the essence of what a role model is. So I love that. If we are talking about a more recent movie that I definitely think will be a wonderful role model-esque or inspiring movie for younger kids, I believe it's called The Gatekeepers, or the Secret Gatekeepers. Oh shoot, I had it in my head. Sorry, I forgot. So, but look it up, like Gatekeepers or something like that. And there is a little bit of fantastical at the end. However, the rest of it is all about, you know, a beautiful pagan family, and it's fabulous. And they're holding on and they're passing down these beautiful traditions. And I love it. They even do a ceremony, a whole ritual outside. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So that movie, and it's on Amazon Prime. I think it's on Prime. I don't think it's on Netflix. So then if we go into, I started with Raven, obviously had to. Now, if I go back to real life people, I had this wonderful experience. So in Connecticut, there used to be this week and a half long Beltane celebration, right? Where you camp on this site. It was just an empty field. And you camp there for like a week, and they had singers and performers, and I was a vendor there, and it was just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it was a week long. It has since stopped. They still do things. I think it's called Pagan Odyssey. They still do things occasionally. However, they don't have the week long celebration. I know that a lot of things happen. Life happens. But I was so lucky that I got to go for one of these week long Beltane celebrations. And during that celebration, I got to meet just this amazing soul. And her name is Queen Mother Imaku. And I got to sing a song with her. And that was just absolutely just her and I in my tent. We sang We All Come from the Goddess. And we did it in a round. And somebody else nearby was drumming. And it was absolutely the most beautiful thing ever. And if you haven't ever listened to Queen Mother before, I highly recommend. she's got a Facebook page and a couple of other things, I think, as well. And she does daily prayers and things like that. She's Kemetic and very ancestral, very rooted, and she is just power exudes from every pore of her body. And I mean, when she raises her hands and it's ashe, ashe, like it's just this moment and you just feel it in every fiber of your being. And it was fabulous. And it was just a time in my life that I will treasure for the rest of my life. So it was absolutely fabulous. And I loved the time I got to spend with her. And she's definitely a role model, just a absolute elder, an absolute power force, and true woman power. And it's just beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So that would be one of them. And then also I have to call out some family members. So one family member would be Kellyanna. If you are not familiar, Kellyanna is my cousin. She is a pagan singer and she's also an author now of a beautiful, it's a series now actually. And I think there's a few more books coming in the series. I think number 2 just came out. If not, it's on pre-order. Yes. And so beautiful, beautiful fiction, pagan book. Amazing. Highly recommend it. Kellyanna is a wonderful role model. The songs that she sings are just, they allow you to have your faith and be able to sing and chant and also have fun songs that aren't just ritual songs, which I love that. I love to just have our faith all around us. I mean, there's so much Christian music out there. You could turn radio and look at Christian radio stations and things like that. And that allows that culture of faith. And sometimes we don't get that. We have to go onto YouTube or we have to go to pagan events and things like that, which are wonderful. And just thank the goddess we have them. I just love, though, being able to have her music and so many others like her, Wendy Rule. There's so many others, right? Heather Jimaku. Like, oh, if you haven't heard her music, it's amazing. So it's important when you're talking about bringing a full culture around you, because if you can immerse yourself in that culture, you can feel the faith. It's why so many people get drawn to Christianity and to big churches, because we are social creatures by nature. Now, not everybody. However, if I'm talking in generalities, human beings, we're social by nature, and to have that community and to feel a part of something is just such a wonderful feeling. And it's what role models are all about. And so then I had to call out as well, not call out in that way, but mention my grandmothers. So my grandmothers, so my maternal and paternal, as well as my great-grandmother, my maternal great-grandmother, very, very dear to me and amazing role models, Amazon women, and just absolutely the most powerful women I ever have known, ever. And their wisdom and what they taught me, I just can't possibly say enough about them. So without crying, but I won't do that. So yeah, those are my role models. Do you guys have some role models? I see we do have a few people watching. Those were the people that I really felt like I wanted to mention. I know I'm probably going to get off the live and I'll be like, oh, that I totally forgot that person. And that happens. But I thought this was a really interesting topic to be able to talk about who we really look up to and the people we aspire to be and the qualities that we aspire to have. Right? I think that that's always something amazing. So yeah, I think that would probably be it for me then today. We did pretty good, a 20-minute live. I'd say that's pretty good. And the light did come back just at the end there. The clouds came over. I had good light when I started. Milton, that you haven't heard of a pagan event. Yeah, it can be really hard. Sometimes look up, if you don't think that you have pagan events in your area, sometimes look up psychic events, because sometimes they are metaphysical events. Sometimes they're kind of like lumped into that. Um, and you can find them that way. The other way is to look up specific holiday events. So I know that, for example, on the East Coast, we have Beltane and Samhain and all of those that are called that event. They're not, but if you look up just a pagan event, they necessarily won't show up. So try looking up just like the term, like, so if you're in New Zealand, you probably just had Samhain, right? So and usually it's only for the fire festivals. Yeah, I mean, I would look it up for maybe in October. I think Beltane's for you in October, right? I think so. So maybe look up Beltane and see if there's any events in your area. So it's switched for us in the Northern Hemisphere. So I'm having to like my brain turn it around. But definitely look up metaphysical and psychic fairs, because sometimes it gets lumped in with that. And you can meet people and then like they might know of something too. Sometimes it's all in who you know. So the other way to do it is to find a local occult shop. And oftentimes they will have flyers, or they will know of any events in the area. Sometimes they even put on events. So that's a great way to also learn about that. So I think that's it for today, everyone. I apologize for my voice. As I said at the beginning, between Pride and Renaissance Fair, I'm all out of voice. So I apologize. Yeah, so I think that is, oh, Bradley, it was so nice to see you again too. Um, Symbolism. Okay. Yeah, no, Milton, absolutely. It just might be a way, if you look up the terms, you might be able to find the events. That's all. It doesn't mean you have to believe in them or celebrate them. Just it might be a way to find some things happening in your local area. So I think that's it. And thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys all seem to like the lives. I want to make sure that it's still something that you like, and I can go back to doing just regular videos if that's better. But I thought that this would be a good way to kind of interact. And oh, I'm so sorry, Milton. Oh, blessed be. Oh, thank you so much, Bradley. Me too. I can't wait for it to not be a squeaky, squeaky mouse. So as always, I want to wish you all the best week, finishing your week and weekend as possible. And I think next week is subs. If it's not, I'll see you. If it's a subs week, I'll see you afterwards. And as always, blessed be and aloha. Bye, everyone.